Hi everyone, it's Kelly from Kelly's Bead Boutique. So I've been making and teaching how to make jewelry for a very long time. And one of the comments that I always hear is, you make it look so easy. Well, I think it is, and I want to show you just how easy it can be. So I'm going to take some simple parts and some simple techniques and put them together and teach you how to make your very own jewelry. If you want to see what I'm making today, come and join me. Alright, so to make our piece today, we've got some 3-ply Irish wax linen, and I think this is about 20 inches. I also have this really cute little glass pendant piece, and this one is in antique copper, and this will be available in kit form, and it will be available in 2 different colors. So I'm going to be using some ball chain, and I have a decorative ring. I also have some little 4mm jump rings, and I have a small section of 3mm rhinestone chain, and I have some rhinestone chain connectors that I'll show you how to use. I have a little lobster clasp, and I have a closed ring, another open jump ring, and I have some of the ball chain connectors that I'm going to show you how to use, and I have some 8/0 seed beads. And as far as my tools, we're just going to be using our bent chain nose pliers, a pair of cutters or scissors, and a pair of pliers. So let's get started. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to put my chain connectors on the ends. So they just sit right inside there. So you're just going to take the end of one piece there, and I just kind of hold it with my thumb. And now I'm going to turn it sideways, and hopefully you can see that. There's 2 little teeth sitting out there. So I'm just going to take my pliers and push down gently on one of the teeth. And just you kind of have to get that in the right angle. And you don't want to push too hard because this is crystal or glass, and you don't want to push down too hard. And sometimes it's all about the camera angles that I have a hard time with, so I'm just going to try to get that in there. All right, so now you can see on the side that I've pushed one down, and then I'm just going to push down the other. So again, I'm not pushing hard because I don't want to crack that piece of crystal. And now I'm going to turn it over and repeat on the other end. So you want to make sure that your little ring part of it is facing out, so that we've got a ring on the end there. So you just sort of situate it on there, and then push down your one side, and then push down the other. And then what I do is I usually go in and look at it from the side just to make sure that that is pushed down, and I can see that this one side is up a little higher. So I'm just going to come in and push it down a little more, just a little harder. And on this one, we've got the same thing going on, so I'm going to push it down just a little harder, but not much. Again, not pushing enough to break that. So now you can use these in lots of different ways, but we have a way to connect our chain. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take my ends of my Irish wax linen and meet them together, and I'm going to run my fingers up until I find the middle of this. Now I'm going to be wrapping this around this little loop. Now if you have a little macrame board, it might be a lot easier. I don't have one here. I feel like if I use my hands, I have a better grip on it. So if you find it easier to secure this down, then by all means do secure it down. But the way that we're going to start is just by making sure that we stay sort of somewhat centered. And then we're just going to tie a knot, because all I want to do is get that on that little loop here. So I'm just going to tie just a basic knot, just like you're tying your shoes, so you can actually tie it without it being on there. So just make a little loop like that, and then when it gets a little closer, you're just going to tie it around the end there, making sure that the knot part is at the top. So just get that in there. So I want to make sure you can see that part. You want to have that ring open because we have to use that ring, and then just pull it tight. So now that's on there pretty good. So if you want, you could tie a second one, but I just didn't bother. I feel like it's pretty secure. So now on one side, I'm going to take one of my 8/0 seed beads. And if you find that you're having a hard time getting it in there, you can just take this and sort of rotate it. See, if I go that way, it undoes it. So if I go this way, that'll make it into a bit more of a needle. And now that should slip through there really nicely. So I'm going to do one on one side and one on the other. And we're just going to be doing a simple macrame technique all the way down. And I just literally came up with this idea yesterday as I was driving, and I thought, hey, I wonder if I could do this. And it ended up turning out really nicely. So now this is going to be where it's going to be a little harder to show you because I do this in my hand. So it's going to look a bit awkward, but this way it'll show you a bit easier. So I'm going to be doing a square knot. So I'm going to take this and place it over top of that first loop there. And then you want to take this and go over top of that. And now this has to go under and up through this loop. So I'm going to just put that back in there, kind of push it with my finger and pull up. And then I'm going to pull this tight. And of course, nothing's going to sit right while I'm doing it on camera, but I just kind of boss it around and make it go where I want. And you'll see where it's going to go in a second here. It's so hard for me not to hold on to it, but when I do hold on to it, you can't see anything. So all I'm doing is pulling this tight. Now you can see that this bead has slipped down. So I want to make sure that it's above that knot so that we have it on either side. And you just kind of have to, there we go. It just popped in there. So now I get those kind of situated on either side. You don't want to pull so tight that it gets pulled to the back, but you want to pull tight enough that it actually creates a knot. So I find the best thing is to hold on to either side and give it a little tug. And now I'm going to complete the other side of my square knot. So I'm going to go back into that little space there. And then I'm going to take this other one and go over top and then underneath and then up through that hole. So and again, this would be a whole lot easier for you to see if I had something to pin it down onto, but you know, we got to go with what works. And I never have anything to pin it to. You would think I would having a store, but I tend to just find that my hands work better than any other tools. I find that hands are a really great tool. Okay, so that's how we've got our first one attached there. So we're just going to continue that down. So we're going to put on a seed bead on one side, and then we're going to have a seed bead on the other. So I always pull them down so that they're situated basically where I want them. And now I'm going to create my knots. So I'm going to go in between the next two, and then you're going to pull this one over top, and now this has to go underneath the whole thing and up through that loop. So I just kind of take it with my finger and push it down and then pull up. So it's just a basic macrame sort of thing. It's just on a piece of chain. So when I go a little bit slow to make sure that that gets in there nice. So again, I hold on to it and pull it tight. But you just don't want to pull so tight that it buckles and goes through to the back, because we want this to look nice on the back too. And you don't want your seed beads popping to the back. So now I'm going to repeat the other side. I'm going to go through there and go over top. And then I have to pick this whole thing up. So it never sits on there properly, but trust me, it does work. So I'm just going to pick it up in my hand so you can see. So that goes over top and underneath and then back up through that hole. Okay, so now when I put it down, I can just kind of hold on to all of it, and then I just pull that tight, and that creates our square knot. So I'll do one more, and then I'm going to continue all the way down, and then I'll show you how you finish off that little sort of ladder of crystals there. And then, like I said, this one just came to me in my head. I started thinking about what I could do with this chain because I really love it. And we get lots of questions as to what else can you do with it. And I thought, I wonder if I can macrame around it without it being on a piece of leather or something. And it worked. And I really love how this ended up. Okay, so I'm going to take that one, always go over and then under. Sorry, it's so hard for me to try to do it on camera and note so that you can see what I'm doing. So under and up through the hole. And then when you go to tighten it up, always make sure that the seed beads are above. So you don't want it to be like this, you want it to be like that. Okay, so get it situated where you want. So I just kind of pull my seed beads down where I want, and then I sort of push up against it so that they come up around the side, and then that's when I pull tight. So now you can see how that's coming along. And don't forget to do your second side. So tuck that in there, go over top of that, and then up through the back, and then bring it up through that hole there. And I tried every which way I could think of to secure this down because I don't have a macrame board. So I just find it much easier to do in my hands. But a lot of people like to secure things down. Okay, so hold on to that and then tighten it up. So now you can see how we've got this going here. And you know, you can just kind of adjust things and make them look the way that you want. But now I'm just going to add seed beads all the way down, and then once I get down here, I'll come back and show you how we're going to finish off this little bit here. Alright, so I'm coming down to the end of my little row. So I've just put my seed beads on. I'm going to start my first part of my square knot. Get that one situated on there. And you can see that they want to buckle in the back, so you just kind of push them up, and then when you pull that tight, it will lock them right into place. And so I'm going to come back and do my sort of, I call it my blank side or whatever. It's the one that doesn't have any beads. So push that around to the back. And then I've got one more to do here. So on this last one, we want to make sure that we put on our last set of seed beads. These are a really pretty seed bead. I'm not sure what the color is called. Let's see. Khaki Opaque AB. They're really nice because they've got that green but a little bit of sort of a coppery pink, and it went so nicely with the copper chain. So and the other one is really pretty too that I've got for the other color that I'll show you. So now this one's a little more challenging on the end because we only have this to kind of tie on to. Okay, so we've got our last one here. So I'm going to try and do this easily, but I'm showing you what I do is I kind of just hold it there with my fingers. And I'm going to bring this one and go over top. And then this one has to come towards the back, and I know my fingers are completely in the way, but I kind of have to because I have to hold on to this. So I want to make sure that stays up there. And then I'm going to pull this one out. And then when I go to tighten it up, it's all going to be in the right place. So just make sure that one's up. And I'm going to tighten it up on the outside there. So the last one is probably the most sort of, as I would call, persnickety, in that it wants to sort of move around a little bit. And so this one you can kind of just tie in your hand again too. So just sort of go over top like that and then pull it around to the back. So if it's easier, you can kind of come in through like that. It's best to hold on to this last one because it can kind of get away from you a little bit. So there we go. So tighten that up. So now you can see that we've got our little run there of beads and chain. So now what I'm going to do is bring it to the back, and I'm just going to tie a simple knot. And the nice thing about Irish wax linen is that it really sticks to itself. So you don't have to do a whole lot. Now what I would probably do is I don't have any with me right at the minute, or right at this minute I should say. But what I would probably do is I would cut this after I put a little dab of GS Hypo glue right there. I don't think I have any on my table here. So put a little dab of glue there and then pull this really nice and tight so that it's locked in there. And then you're just going to come in and trim this off. We don't want to be able to see the ends of this, so a little dab of glue would really help out. So get in there and trim that off nice and close. And then if you've got that glue on there, it won't go anywhere. And then what I do is I just take the end of my pliers and kind of burnish down that little end because they kind of want to poke out a bit. But the nice thing again with this Irish wax linen is that it's sticky, and then when you kind of burnish it back, you don't see it. So that is our run of beads there. And that's what it should look like. All right, now that we've got our little run of chain all macrameed, we're going to put the necklace together. So I'm going to start by opening up a jump ring, and I'm going to put one pair of pliers on one side of the jump ring and one on the other and bend away. I'm going to place the jump ring through the end of the crystal piece and then the end of the piece that we were working on. And I'm going to turn over my pliers because sometimes that's a little bit easier, and do that up. And always make sure you do it up nice and tight. Now I want to add my little decorative ring, so I'm going to open up another jump ring and I'm going to put it through the top part of the little macrame piece and through the decorative ring and do that up nice and tight. All right, and now we have our ball chain. So the ball chain, it doesn't really have a way that you can do it up, so we have these neat little connectors, and they just are like a little clamshell, but they open on the side. So you literally just take the very end, try and put that on my finger there. It's always hard to, I'll try it this way. It's always hard to try and figure out how to do that on camera. So I'm going to take the little end and pop it in there. So you just put the last link in and then you just close it up. It's super simple. Just kind of have to get it started and then just close that up, and it's nice and secure and it's not going to go anywhere. So I'll take the other one. I'll try and do that without my fingers in the way. So you can just take the little end, put it in the very tip there, and then just close it up with your fingers. It's so soft that it's easy to do. Now I'm going to open up another jump ring the way that I did before. So just open that up, and I'm going to run it through the end there. And then I'm going to put on my lobster clasp and do that up. And then I'm going to open up another small jump ring, and I'm going to put it through the other end. And then I'm going to put my closed ring on there, and that will give you a nice finished look. So once you do it up, you will have that really nice look like that. So it's really finished. Almost it looks like something you'd buy in a store. All right, so now we have to determine which way we want to have this. I always want to have my lobster clasp on my right hand side because I am right-handed. So I find if I turn my pendant upside down, I'll know which way for it to go. So I've got that on the right hand side, and I'm going to take my little bit larger ring. We've got a 6mm ring. I'm going to open that up. So just bend away, and I'm going to go through the decorative ring and through the ball chain, and then just do that up. And sometimes it wants to get hung up, so I just sort of boss it around and do what I want it to do. So now when you do it up, it's on the right hand side, so it's easy to do up, and there we've got our completed piece. So I'm going to show you the other one, and I'll show you how both of them look. So there you go, there's our completed necklaces. I love how these ones turned out. It was so much fun to create something completely just on a whim and have it actually work out and look pretty cute. So we're going to give you about 21 inches of chain to work with, so you can make this one a little bit shorter if you want. It does look better if it sits up around your chest versus hanging a little bit longer. So you can make it a little bit shorter to fit your neck, whatever works for you. So this one is in the antique copper with the little different tones of metal. It's sort of a greeny purple. And then we've got the antique silver with the sort of dark gray matte seed beads. And I think these ones are just so beautiful. These ones will look really great into the Christmas season, or pretty much any time, but I just think they're fabulous. So as always, this kit will be available on my website. To find the kits, you just go into the description box below the video, and there's a link that will take you directly to my fully secure website. And I have probably over 150 different kits on my site, so lots of great things to look at. If you did enjoy this video, please make sure to give me a thumbs up. Leave me a comment because I love to hear from everybody. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please make sure that you do so. I want to thank you so much for watching, and we will see you on the next one.